Alright, let's see what happened during the Dune Awakening showcase today. Because I am curious to know, will we see new stuff? Will it be the same stuff they sent us in that gameplay? Go watch that video, by the way, if you haven't already. Link in the card, because it will be up on YouTube. Click on the card thingy for that video. I did do a big breakdown of that uncut gameplay. Technically uncut. Either way, let's figure out what we met during the I about said Nintendo Direct. I saw Direct and my mind went Nintendo Direct. But Awakening address. Let's see what we can get in chat. Like always, guard your yield. Let me know how the audio is. Okay, well, to get that super loud in my yields. Okay. Cause man, it'd be nice if we got a beta release date. Cause we technically got a date for early 2025. But man, it'd be great if they start sending out like more invite. Cause to my knowledge, they are still doing like the invite only NDA behind the scene beta. So it would be great. But let's be honest, they're probably not gonna do that since the game is, you know, like at this point, what, 5-6 months out, maybe longer. Also, don't forget, chat, before they come out, we gotta do Conan as well, so we can actually see how some of the mechanic works.
Welcome to Gamescom. I'm Zoe Schwind, and you can see today you're not joining me on Arrakis, but the next best thing, which is of course our Dune Awakening booth here at Gamescom in beautiful Cologne, Germany. Now it's been a very exciting week already with the gameplay reveal at opening night live, and of course all the streams showing the awesome presentations we had here on our show floor. Now with all that new content, come a lot of new questions. So I am lucky that I will have a few minutes with Joel Byles later today to hopefully answer some of those questions. But first things first, let me show you around.
Okay, yeah. I don't think we're going to get a lot from this time around.
And now Joel and I are in front of the theater. This is where the presentations are happening. There will be
I still got a question about PvP when it comes to the stumbles.
We lucky ones, Joel, get to skip the queue, but once inside, what can people expect? What kind of presentations are those?
I mean, we'll be showing 30 minutes of gameplay and discussing and talking about what the game is.
What they sent us.
Yeah, giving people a real live performance of the game.
So there will be developers in there answering questions as well?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at that.
Sadly, we didn't get the developer. They just sent me the 4K footage.
This is where 63 people can be seated to watch a presentation. What's going to be in this presentation?
So we're going to, you know, start with the player's first steps, character creation, of course, and then your first steps on Arrakis. Then we're going to show some building, we're going to show some world events that can occur.
Okay, so there was some gameplay here.
We're going to end with going to a social hub and showing off one of the city areas of Arrakis, and we're going to show the spice hunt at the end of the game. That's kind of what's going to happen in the presentation.
It is very similar. I wonder if it is just the same footage.
Afterwards, questions, and I kind of want this screen at home.
Honestly, same. You know, those sandworms look really impressive.
I kind of wish they sent
it
like just the presentation with the audio
as well. And for those of you who could make it to Gamescom, there is of course, or was of course, an opportunity to still catch all the action from this presentation from our streamer booth. We had streamers like Sacriel sitting down, showing the presentation, and chatting to their audience. Do you think we get in trouble if we push some buttons here?
I can probably push a couple. Okay. I'm also going to join a couple of the streams and hang out with the streamers.
Oh, sweet.
Talk a little bit about the game.
What's your game face? What's your streamer face?
Oh, I don't know. I've never really... maybe it's like
I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that before Gamescom, to be honest.
We're finding ourselves in probably the most exciting room of all, because in here, a few lucky ones get hands-on experience with your game.
Yes. Yeah, we're letting people play
for
about an hour at a time, and we'll be letting them, you know, roam the world, try things out, and we'll be using a few cheats to let them jump forward in the game as well if they want to see things like flying an ornithopter, which is kind of cool. So yeah, giving people a chance to really get deep into the game.
But yeah, if you missed sadly the presentation, it was just straight gameplay. Man, it would have been nice to be in like a Discord call with them or something.
Gamescon's been amazing. There's so many people, but it's been fun talking to
people. Because I know a lot of
who
companies are doing that type
Dune
of
or
quest
don't know
now.
about Dune and introducing them to our game.
That's what we did for
seeing so many familiar faces and new
Evercore.
faces, and it's just been an incredible experience so far.
This doesn't come around very often for me as a developer. but so far so good. It's been going really great. It's been great to sort of get connections with people, get in front of people, put the game in front of people ideally, and they can get hands on and start playing it and really give us some solid feedback.
We've been, or at least for myself, been on the project now for around 5 years. So, you know, the chance to birth the project, I guess, to the people, it's just really great to kind of see and get their reaction of playing the game.
It's really nice, like it's completely crazy. Like you can hear maybe already from the loudness, everybody has a blast of time and crazy.
Joel, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me for a quick chat.
Thank you for having me.
So before we're digging deeper into all the new things we've learned and seen about Dune Awakening, how does it feel for the first time to be able to show your game to the public?
I mean, it's really, really exciting. It's humbling to see what the public think. Like when you really get it in front of players, people who play the game. Like we've shown it to journalists and creators a few times, but this is really like the first look for people who, you know, just play games. You know, will they get into the gameplay? Will they like it? You know, are they seeing what we see, the promise of the game?
So you say the reaction of the players, have you just been creeping around the corners of the booth to watch them whilst they play?
You're watching people play, you know, I'm the guy who stands behind you and kind of
There will be a comment or two about that, I'm sure.
coughs every time you
It's gonna
you
play
do something
differently.
wrong. Yeah, exactly. It's left. Left.
You guys came not just, of course, with a game to showcase, but also a new tagline. It's Survive, Expand, Control. What's the tagline all about?
Survive, Expand, Control is really kind of the phases that the player goes through on their journey in Dune Awakening. And we've kind of always had this, like we will always use this internally to explain the player journey. In the beginning of the game, the player is really learning the mechanics of survival, the harshness of Arrakis, dealing with, you know, the heat, learning to find water, you know, avoiding that sandworm, and sort of making their way through the world. But then over time, they become more settled. They start to build a base. They start to expand outwards from their base. They build vehicles. They go out into the world and explore, expand their operations. They expand their bases. They make them larger. Maybe they move to a better part of the map that they prefer. And then eventually, once you've sort of seen what the world has to offer, you start vying for control over the spice. So you want to start,
the PvP stuff comes
forming
in.
a guild, perhaps signing up with one of the factions, and of course trying to control the production of spice on Arrakis.
So it's like a bit of a checklist for the player, essentially.
Exactly.
I'm still curious to know
these three.
Like honestly, I'm still kind of interested to know, like, I follow like the PvP, since, you know, like obviously you're gonna be going out there to get the fight, but then come the questions of, do we get the side effect of the fights? Is there like a non-PvP way to get it? And then the other part is like, I'm curious to know if the PvP is technically what ESO PvP was at the beginning. I can't vouch for now, but like in the beginning where you were fighting to become import. So I'm wondering if that like a whole nother part of the PvP stuff is that. As far as like, you know, trying to get like you or your alliance up to the point to, you know, have control over, you know, that area of fights. And then get like bonuses or something, kind of like how New War did it. Like, I still have a lot of questions around
Steps,
that part of the
300
game.
hours later, and you're the king of the world.
Easy. It's so simple. Starting at the beginning there with Survive. We've talked about survival on Arrakis plenty of times before. We, you know, covered worms, war, all the good stuff. We haven't really talked about the sun that much. Can you maybe elaborate on how people can withstand it? Like, what can you do against the sun on Arrakis?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the most obvious thing is travel by night. And the second most obvious thing is stick to the shadows, right? So obviously the game has a full dynamic day-night cycle, and as the sun moves through the sky, the shadows change position in the world, and you want to try and stick to where they are and do your activities in the shade. Now that isn't always possible, so you start to craft yourself gear like steel suits, which allow you to, you know, resist more heat, and of course preserve water. And you start to craft yourself like steel tents, which allow you to like have portable shelter in the world.
All right, so those still suits and the still tents, is that something I can craft myself?
Yes, so especially later on in the game, part of the journey that you go on as a player is you go through these trials of Akul, which are kind of a Fremen ritual. And at the end of those rituals, you learn recipes that the Fremen have prepared for their own survival in the desert. And you as a player can then start to craft those
so we are
items
going to
that
be
you picked up.
tripping.
Can I, for example, also build buildings and use their shade to hide behind? Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, sick.
Yes.
That's actually really cool.
It's actually kind of fun. It's also like sometimes you'll be out harvesting, right?
Yeah.
And there'll be a rock that's casting a shadow, and you'll be like, oh, I'm just going to crouch behind the rock before I shatter it, so
Yeah.
that I don't actually, you know, get sunstroke.
Smart.
cool.
So use the environment
Yeah.
to your advantage, or create environment for your
You're
advantage.
going to be
And
building
everything's kinda
walls
dynamic, so it's
constantly,
nice,
and we
yeah.
will.
That's really, I mean, that's generally just so much joy because everything on Arrakis is so dynamic, like the sand, the movements, the imprints you leave whilst
Yeah.
walking on that sand as well.
That stuff is interesting, and then there's like other layers to that where you can use like certain devices to blow away the sand because you're looking for buried treasure, things that get deposited by sandstorms.
this is
that
new.
leave treasure in their wake that you can actually, you know, find hidden beneath the sand. You need to scan it to find it, and then you can, you know, dig up the treasure.
Okay, they're playing that now. Okay. Yeah, because in the uncut gameplay stuff, they showed it. They showed one person doing what that dude just did with the gun, and then another person just digging in the sand. So I wonder, because originally I thought that was them just like, you know, harvesting fights originally. So now I'm kind of curious to know is if you don't have the gun or that candle we just saw for a second, how are you going to find that stuff? Because obviously you're going to be able to dig. So I wonder if you're just going to be mindlessly digging, or is it going to be one of them cases of like you have like something being like, hey, it's an item within, you know, like a 5 meter like area, and then you just dig in that area until you find it like manually. So I'm kind of curious, like, is that what that is? So
It's kind of cool. Just
I
things
wanna
like
know
that
on
that
that.
the technology allows us to do.
That's really cool. Such
Oh, full-time actually seeing the loot in
open
now.
world to explore for all the
wait,
players.
hang on. Let me see what we got here.
To do.
That's really cool. Such
Oh, there it is.
interact.
So we got copper. Okay, copper pistols. Copper ore, copper ignites. Okay, so essentially we are gonna have a lot of the survival, like metal ignite type of stuff, huh? Okay.
Active open world
And a piece
to
of a gun.
explore for all the players. Now another thing we got to see more
So
of
I mean
during
the gun.
Gamescom is
I mean the gun customization is gonna be probably multi-step down. So I wonder if it's gonna be like where you can change every little piece of the gun, or is it more along the lines of like, you know, switching out heal, switching out like magazines, like that type of thing. Minecraft. Well, yeah, it like, because also the other thing to be like don't get me wrong, I'm interested in it because it's Doom and I do like my survival game. But the other main reason I'm interested in it, they are like, yeah, this is a MMO. It's just an MMO that have like the survival mechanics in it. It's like the main reason I'm interested beyond my own, you know, love for the universe.
building and the process. We talked about blueprints a little bit, about the collaboration of
I want to see the gun
building.
customization
I
now.
want to dig a little deeper into customization. How customizable are those buildings?
Well, I mean, so we have multiple different building sets, right? So the one that we've shown most of the time in these trailers is the CHOAM building set. CHOAM being kind of this organization that mass produces things in the world. And so you start with the basic building tiers, and then over time you can upgrade into more fancy versions which have different visuals, and you have things like, if you join the factions, you get access to the Atreides, you know, building set, the Harkonnen building sets, and these kind of allow
Now
you
the
to
question, can you
visually
join multiple,
customize how your base looks, right?
guilds?
And obviously Harkonnen is very
Or
HR
sides,
Geiger,
you know.
very dark, and the Atreides is more like fancy castle
Okay, that
kind of
night
stuff.
weapon
Can I
though.
mix and match?
Back to like the
Yes,
original
you can
movie.
combine those in any way you like to create some really weird hybrid
almost the original
combinations.
That
movie.
can get very messy, can
Yeah.
it? Okay.
It can look very weird.
But hey, that's what customization is all about. You want people to be able to express themselves.
Exactly, expression and customization is one of our pillars. So express yourself however you like, even if it turns out that your Harkonnen Atreides hybrid is an abomination to mankind.
Another thing which has been coming up a lot more during what we've seen here at Gamescom is the presence of spice. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. We've
Okay.
seen two different types now, flower sand as well as spice. How do you
We
harvest
slowly get into
that?
what my
What's the
questions
difference
are.
between the two?
Yeah, so a part of the kind of mechanic of the game is drawing people out onto the sand where that sandworm is, making their lives a little more risky, a little more dangerous. Flower sand is this soft sand. It's mentioned in the books as a place where the Fremen like to pitch their tents because it's the softest place to sleep. It's kind of this very fine-grained sand you find on the most exotic of beaches.
Or Arrakis.
Yeah, or Arrakis in this case. It's very fine-grained sand. And in the game you need it as a resource for crafting. So you can go out there, you can harvest this flower sand by hand.
Oh,
takes a
there
little
it
while
is.
to harvest a lot of flower sand that way.
Never mind,
this
this is
really cool tool
okay.
we
So
have
it is
called the static
harvesting, not
compactor.
lump of treasure.
And when you
Got
fire
it.
the static compactor at the ground, it kind of takes all the sand and lumps it together in this big pile for you to just harvest straight away.
That sounds like something that makes noise, though.
Yeah, it does, right? And when you make a lot of noise on the sand, you start to attract the sandworm.
I'm still wondering, like, I get when they thought they didn't have the trackle on the middle of the screen, did it? So I get that sometimes you couldn't come in as you do more and more on the sand.
So these are kind of the mechanics you use for harvesting flower sand, and then later on, when you get to spice, it works functionally. It's quite similar in that the big spice blows leave giant spice fields on the sand, and you kind of harvest in the same way. You can harvest by hand, you can harvest with a static compactor, and of course, you want to bring, to harvest the most, you want to bring a sand crawler, dump that on the surface, and use it to suck up as much spice as possible. And naturally, all of these things take place on the open sand. And the sandworm always comes.
Is there an effect from being around the spice for too long whilst harvesting? Like,
Oh,
can I?
this is my
am I
original
inhaling the
question.
spice? What is happening to me?
Yeah, so just by
You do?
harvest with a static compactor.
Okay, we good.
And of course, you want to bring,
I didn't.
to harvest
I
the
didn't.
most, you wanna
Stream
bring a
freaked
sand
out,
crawler,
chat.
dump that on the surface, and use it to suck up as much spice as possible. And naturally, all of these things take place on the open sand, and the sandworm always comes.
Is there an effect from being around the spice for too long whilst harvesting? Like, am I inhaling the spice? What is happening to me?
Yeah, so just by virtue of being on Arrakis, you're inhaling a lot more spice than you probably would if you didn't live on Arrakis.
Factual, yeah.
And we see that in the films as well. Happens in the books. And so yeah, as a player, if you stand around on a spice blow too long without proper protection, you start to inhale too much spice and it gets into your bloodstream, and that can lead to, let's say, certain effects on your character in the world and in the game. Yeah, the idea of these visions
delusion
that Paul has, I think, is an interesting thing. We're definitely exploring this kind of idea in the game. What it is and what it means, I'll leave for the players and their imagination, and
I'm
hopefully
so
one day they'll
curious,
find out.
like how they're gonna do that as a mechanic.
Now that I harvested all that spice, though, what's the main usage for it other than the personal use? Like, why am I out there harvesting and risking my life?
Okay, here we
for
go.
it, really?
Velvecating full
Sure.
like
I mean,
wine
in the
PvP
books,
is
the
what it
Fremen use
is.
spice for everything. It's something that became a huge part of their culture. And in the same way, the player also starts to sort of find multiple uses for spice all the time. You need spice residue for fueling some of the generators in the base. You start using spice to craft almost anything in the world. Like some of the higher tier gear in the game really requires spice as a key ingredient. Use it to pay your taxes to the Emperor, because otherwise
Wait, I have to pay taxes in this game too.
this is how we claim a sub thief.
Okay, I had a feeling it was gonna be
Confiscate
a
it, man.
Can't
corn
escape those
seed.
taxes. I mean, you can. You don't have to pay them, and then you get killed by the Sardaukar and try
That's
to fight.
unlucky.
But that's an option you have.
Okay.
And then of
Wish I
course,
realized.
if you want to go into the Landsrad, spice is kind of the primary currency of the kind of political infighting that's happening between the major houses, and you can take a large role in that. And of course, you can sell it to make a lot of money.
So it's spice, it's everywhere.
Spice is the backbone of everything.
It really is. Another thing that we saw in regards to spice, or even like touched on in previous episodes, was abilities as well. Is there anything you can share about the connection between spice and abilities?
Yeah, so as the player's blood gets saturated with spice, you can imagine how abilities might be altered by being able to see just a little bit into the future. And so, we have some of those effects in the game.
How
I
they
won't,
gonna walk out of
again,
the MMO?
spoil too much of it, but yeah, it will have an impact on your abilities.
Fine, I'll take that. That was an.
Cause to be honest, like the whole scene of future stuff, like that a mechanic that we've seen done in like Xenoblade, and it worked great. It's just a question of how that's gonna operate in an MMO. Hopefully, it's not something that is just like, oh, you're gonna go make an item, and then the item have a percentage chance to break. And you can like use the fight to have a vision to see like, or like bump up the like, oh, and now from a 5% break to like a 2% break, or maybe something like that. It's just like, I don't know how that will operate outside of like crafting, Or maybe outside of like quests, like if you are, you know, trying to do like the political stuff, being able to see how certain outcome might play. But like, I don't know how that would work at all. Like the whole running around, shooting, gathering, you know, that part of the game, if it will any play into that at all. So it's still like a lot there, and not counting the whole thing as well. Because I think they talked about it in like the fourth, or maybe it was the second dev event they did. Of like the whole fights, and I get technically here as well, of other abilities. So I'm wondering if it's gonna be one of them whole cases where you're gonna have like a skill tree, and the skill tree be like you can learn this ability, but you need like 1,000,000, you know, fights. So that will then be like, okay, to unlock that ability, I need to go farm, I need to sell, you know, the whole economy part. To then you to unlock abilities, like at a certain point in the skill tree, like that also another like question I have here, like, is that the case? How far are they gonna go? If so, like, I'm so curious.
It's an answer. I can't go too far down that path.
Well, speaking of abilities, though, it was really, really exciting to see some new abilities showcased here at Gamescom. Shield was one of them. Can you maybe talk a little bit about adding new abilities, your philosophy when it comes to creating abilities and make them work in your world?
Sure, we have, I mean, so first of all, we have our different archetypes, right? And we try to maintain our consistency with the lore of who those people should be. So if you know, are a mentat or a trooper.
Oh, here we go.
Kind of like,
wait. Can I go back?
The lore of who those people should be. So if you know, are
here we go.
mentat.
There we go. Pause that. So level 1 of 3. 1 skill point, cooldown duration, preview. Yeah, like, at least you can weep back. That's good. So yeah, it seemed like it maybe it doesn't require fights.
Or a trooper.
Maybe the
kind of like
straight
your
leveling.
basic set of abilities is kind of aligned around.
Whoa. That was a separate skill tree. Hang on.
A mentat or a trooper.
Sorry, chat. I'm trying to break it down. Yeah, so you have ability, you have techniques. Yeah, all this is still looking like... Yeah, this is just like the augment system, technically.
Like your basic set of abilities is kind of aligned around what that archetype would be using. So, you know, mentat, human computers, being able to see and calculate information really quickly in the world. But then from a gameplay and fun perspective, we're trying to build a game that has combat that is about getting in close for melee combat and then pulling back quickly
it still
to go
look
back
very...
to range. So you're always switching your tactics based on the enemies you're fighting. If they're wearing shields, then you need to get in there and attack them with melee. Ranged attacks just won't do the trick, right? So it's kind of really about this push and pull. And so our ability design is really about giving players options, whether that is about getting you to them as quickly as possible, that is things like the dash ability, getting you in really fast, or using a Shigawire claw.
Hang on, chat. I just saw something. Up there on the far right, will it say Affiliate or FP11? It also have an at that 0. So I wonder, that probably just your fight collection, right? So once again, I wonder is that gonna play into the kill tree at all, or that just your currency in general?
Well, that is things like the dash ability, getting you in really fast, or using a Shigawire claw on the environment to pull yourself close to the enemy, but also giving you abilities like the voice compel, which allows you to pull the enemy and compel them with the voice to walk to you so that they can be struck down by your blade. So it's kind of about combining these things, and our ability design really takes this to heart. How do we get people in and out as quickly as possible?
So with the traversal abilities, I can really kind of pair that with items and tech, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, of course we have the suspensor belts, which basically at their lowest level allow you to fall without taking damage, but at their highest level allow you to fly basically freely.
I'm still going to take damage.
You know, obviously gravity drains over time, but suspensor belts really allow you full mobility in the air.
I'm essentially the Baron at that point.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. and that's the fantasy. And then you can combine
your fantasy
those...
is to be the Baron, so I need to stop you
I've been working on it for years.
Okay.
But no, so the ability to like use suspensor belts to fly around, right, and then combining it with a Shigawire claw, using the momentum of both of them to pull you through the world, you know, twice as fast as you could normally move, or you know, using the dash into a suspensor belt, which allows you to like really go quickly in the world. It's kind of crazy and we might need to tone it down. But that sort of stuff is like, it's super interesting to see. And that's kind of what we mean by our combined arms. It's like playing around in the sandbox with the way that the combat, the abilities, all these kind of things come together to just make combat feel really dynamic and interesting.
There were a lot of interesting things, obviously, throughout the last few days here at Gamescom that were shown during, the opening ceremony, and also the things we see here on the booth. Also, we got to get more sneak peeks into like the player hubs. So we got to see a sneak peek of an allegiance ceremony, for example. But that's something that you shared in the past, that people do not have to align with one of the houses. That's still true, right? I do not have to get involved in any of that.
It is true. You as a player do not have to join one of these factions in the game. You're not forced to join them. You can play the game as a lone wolf, or like with your little clan or guild of people who don't want to be part of the major faction, but you'll always kind of end up interacting with them in some way, right? The Harkonnen and the Atreides are fighting this war of assassins over the planet's surface, and in some way your contracts and the way that you work in the world, you're always going to encounter them in some form. But you don't have to join them, you don't have to be one of them. You can maintain your independence. You can help people who are participating in the Landsrad, but you don't have to be aligned necessarily with either of those groups. Now, I mean, I do think it's a bit of a shame to miss out, because sometimes if you don't join, for example, the Atreides, you won't be able to get their best gear. You won't be able to get, all of the building set, for example, that the Atreides has, and you'll definitely miss out on their cool "awoo" battle cry.
He worked it in.
But
shout out to Discord.
Shout out to Discord. But it's completely up to you as a player, and you will be able to buy things like Atreides outfits that other players craft and put on the
blueprints.
Yeah,
I can still get my.
People can put things out for you to buy. Yeah.
That good,
so
you can still get it any if you don't join
with
Alliance.
One of the houses would just be that I'm missing out on like specialized items.
Dicks.
All the dicks. T.I., how you doing? Welcome, T.I. I'm getting caught up on the Dune direct from that morning that I missed. And I really wasn't getting much, but now we get more detail. But how you doing, T.I.?
House rewards.
In a way,
and I mean, I think some of the cooler political story stuff that we're putting into the game as well is like, it's interesting, but you don't have to do it. The main story is not tying you to one faction or another.
How locked in?
They're talking about the faction and how to get the equipment.
Both sides in a way? Is there a drawback?
That too.
Once I'm tying myself to.
Yeah, real quick on that. No, we did not get banned. I'm happy. For anyone that missed it last night, or you watching it in the VOD, Twitch freaked out. Couldn't get messages. Couldn't send messages. Couldn't see chat. Everybody in chat literally had no information at all, like subscription, pay, like chat message, none of that. And yeah.
Voodoo deek everyone.
But yeah, it was just a Twitch problem. Like, I wasn't the only one having it. I saw a couple people on Twitter having it, so it fixed now. Knock on wood, Oh god, where's my mouth? There it is.
Atreides, but what is? Then one day I wake up and I'm like, new day, new me. I don't want to be this anymore.
I'd like to go join the Baron.
Exactly. Yeah, no. What happens then? Can I leave?
I mean, yeah, of course, it's Dune, right? Of course you can backstab people, and it's certainly an option.
Lovely.
So you can go down that way if you really want to get those
PK
rewards.
or they'll.
Of course you can betray your solemn oath to the Red Duke. You can do that. I don't think he'll look kindly on you after that point, but you definitely have the option.
I had my reasons, I'm sure, or will have my reasons rather. Okay, so there's benefits and advantages and a few drawbacks there, whether or not I want to align or get involved politically. Got it.
Troy, don't involve me in your shenanigans.
Why not? Come on, you know you wanna. Come join the shenanigans.
Now, last but certainly not least, I think one of, if not the biggest announcement was, of course, a release window. Early 2025.
Oh, come on, give me a release date for beta.
On the game all over the world. But before that, will players get an opportunity to play more in the beta? Will there be a bigger beta, a more open beta? What's the spiel?
Something more than family and friends?
We're still doing our persistent beta that we started a few months ago. We're letting in more and more people over time. And we're going to start boosting it in a big way, adding lots of people to the beta in the coming months, so that we can really test our robustness, our scaling, and of course things like our end game systems, which we really need a lot of people to help us test out. So yeah, it's a great time. Hopefully people have already wishlisted the game and signed up on DuneAwakening.com, but if they haven't, still plenty of opportunities to get your hands on the game and make a decision about whether you like it or not before we launch it.
Absolutely. Well, Joel, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to release you back into the wild to look at what the players are playing outside right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go and be nervous and try not to tell people how to play my game.
You're doing great. And that's it from our very special episode of Dune Awakening here at Gamescom.
Man,
as Joel just said,
it'd be nice to have more of an actual date for the opening, other than
all the updates
over
at
the net
Dune
months.
Awakening. And don't forget to also join our Discord server. And
I'm pretty
join
sure
the
it's doing the
conversation.
NDA
It's been so much
though,
fun to
but
be here and have a look around. And of
want
course,
in
I
so
want to thank
bad,
you all so
chat.
much for tuning in once again. Next time, we'll be back on Arrakis, so we hope to see you there.
I feel like we got like a lot closer to some of my questions. Like I obviously still got some. They like kind of nudged at a lot of it. But yeah, we got a decent amount from this. I would say nothing really more than we already know beyond like verifying the whole digging stuff. Also go away, IGN. But yeah, like verifying the digging stuff is good. The combat stuff we've seen before. It just, I'm still kind of curious about the tag-togginess of like the melee stuff. It's like every time I see like the melee stuff in it, I just have flashback to like the Old Republic. So like, but the gun combat obviously like actual third-person shooting. I wonder if they're just nailing the gun combat force here, but yeah, and then also, you know, I really want to know about the whole scene in the future bit, as well as the other power stuff. Because obviously it seems like they're doing the whole thing, well, you know, fight will be the power thing. But, I don't know, also we got skill points, so I wonder if that can be the distance between, like, ability and technique. It's gonna be, like, one gonna be leveling, one gonna be fights. So yeah, like, that is still, like, my question right now is, how the vision gonna work? Is it exclusively for cutscenes or crafting percentages? How did the weapon crafting work? Since we did see them dig up a certain piece of a weapon, but not a whole weapon. So I want to know about weapon customization. I want to see what like some side quests look like. Since we know we're gonna have them. It's like, I would like to see like one just to see if it's like the whole thing of like, oh, go, you know, gather 10 buckets of sand. Or, you know, go kill X number of whatever creatures that don't whack it or whatever. Like, I wonder, like, cause we saw, like, infiltration stuff in other trailers. So I would like to see, like, a quest just being, like, playthrough just to see. Because a lot of the gameplay stuff they have shown have been more, like, you know, the survival stuff. And then, like, a little bit of a tease of, like, the MMO stuff with the hubs and, you know, whatnot and the factions. So I want to know about that, and my other thing I do want to know about is, like, when you get into, like, the PvP stuff, the actual PvP stuff, you know, over the main sand area, I want to know, like, is that, like, 100% is for currency / affiliate stuff, or is that actually tied to anything greater, like, you know, what the connection with that to, like, the houses? And also, I want to know, like, what is the whole thing with the dumpers? You know, I thought, like, summoning the sandworm. Like, I wonder if that's going to be like, oh, we doing PvP, we have a time limit. And then, you know how, like, a lot of PvP game does the whole thing where they have a ball that fill up on each side, and then whoever had the most point, quote-unquote, win. So I wonder if it's gonna be like, once you fill that up, does an NPC just put down, you know, a thing to summon the giant worm, just so people, you know, leave and for, like, you know, the big set people to finishing up PvP. Like, I want to know, like, is that a player? Is that like an NPC? Is that just the way that the conflict, quote unquote, ends? Can the conflict end faster if you're using more like vehicles and stuff in combat? Like, I'm not, as you all know, I'm not really a PvP person, but I do want to know how that operates. Because it's like, with the fight being so much a big deal in this, is I feel like that will be a design, well, and also them being like, you know, with crafting and everything, you know, being that connection point to pull people into that content that normally wouldn't take part in that content, and actually making that content like relevant to like the Freddy PvP people, as well as, you know, Smo Joe, let me build my house in the sand, you know, people. So I do want to know about that stuff. But yeah. Did I ever play the game at all? Not yet. Right now, they have not sent me an invite or anything. The only communication I've been in, which I think is because I'm on a mailing list more so than anything, was they sent me a, they sent me like a Dropbot thing with pretty much like the 30-minute gameplay that they were talking about. They were showing at gamescon. They sent me the video. We watched it on stream. You can see it on YouTube, by the way. But they sent me the 30-minute uncut gameplay of the stuff. I get it more like 10-minute of like each part, like uncut. They sent me that, and then they sent me like a whole bunch of like 4K and 8K images to use for like thumbnails and stuff. But other than that, no. And like I said, I think the only reason I got that because I'm just on a PR mailing list, probably. So yeah, they haven't invited me to the beta. They haven't reached out at all or anything. I haven't heard anything from the devs. But who knows? Maybe in the future, since I said they are doing, like, they are still doing the whole, like, super closed-off beta for family developers with slow invite going out. So maybe I did sign up for the beta, so who knows? Maybe in the next few months, maybe I will get invited. Don't get me wrong, I probably wouldn't be able to talk about it because, you know, probably NDA to hell and back. But that won't be my fourth rodeo dealing with that type of stuff. But yeah, like, as of now, I haven't had a chance to play it. But you better believe, if they give me an invite, or when the game go, like, public beta, I will absolutely jump into it. Absolutely. Because it's supposed to be out on PC, PS5, and I think Xbox as well. Pretty much everything but Switch. So as soon as I can play it, and as soon as I can, you know, like, full-on show my opinion once I get my hands on it, I will absolutely be doing that. This is one of the game, well, I think it, your kind of game choice, just based on it. It's going to have PvP, but, yeah, cause like I said, for me, when it comes to, like, the whole Doom stuff, it's like, you know, I grew up with, like, the books and, you know, all the old movies and TV specials and, you know, all that stuff I grew up with. So I'm, like, very, very familiar and very, like, nerdy about the universe. And then you throw in, the whole thing of, you know how I've been saying forever, that survival games is just the closest thing to a MMO light that we have as far as, like, the live server MMO light games. And they have stated that this is a MMO using survival game mechanics. Because they haven't shied away from it being, you know, MMO and survival. So yeah, like, the thing is, like, they keep showing all, like, the survival stuff, and they keep just, like, hinting at the MMO stuff. The last showcase they did actually went way more into the MMO stuff, because it went into, like, how the server structure and then...
Die-In versus Star Wars Outlaws versus Starfield versus Star Citizen versus No Man's Sky versus Elite Dangerous. Winner?
Oh God, I would say No Man's Sky. I would say No Man's Sky Genesis, because I feel like No Man's Sky is probably the best game, like, you know, in that as of right now that is, you know, out and playable, and to my knowledge haven't done anything shady. Since I know Elite Dangerous got iffy, and then not getting, you know, not counting all the shit going down with, like, Star Wars, Starfield, Star Citizen. So this is just way too early for me to give opinion on that. But of the stuff that out, No Man's Sky probably the best base game. But yeah, like I was saying, like, that whole thing is, like, the universe, the survival, the MMO stuff they have shown and semi-showed and talked about, and, like, very much hitting that whole, like, well, my love is of, like, okay, I got this, you know, the franchise that I adore and the universe I adore. And with, like, the mechanics they have talked about, like, you know, they, once again, haven't went in real heavy detail, but enough to kind of get, you know, my brain kind of flowing, like, oh, let's see. with like with the PvP stuff of being like mechanics that is designed to drive player to interactions. Any of it friendly or non-friendly in the case of PvP. Cause like my biggest issue I have always had with PvP in moat games, especially games outside of Halo. Cause let's be honest, like SOCOM 2, Halo 2, a little bit of Halo 3, you know, Quake, you know, like all that stuff originally. You know, it was built around like knowing the map, knowing where the weapons are. So it was like a mix of knowledge and like skills. And I'm cool with that type of PvP. Like, absolutely. My big issue with like PvP nowadays is the kind of way it went with the whole like, you know, playing distant classes, the interchangeable bits of that. It what kind of killed PvP for me. Any of early Call of Duty did get me with it on MMO mechanics, but nonetheless. But like nowadays, with a lot of MMOs, and why this MMO sorry, not MMO, but PvP, and why I'm a little more interested in it, PvP, is seeming like, cause my one big issue of just like never feeling like I'm progressing in PvP. You know, I always feel like I'm just wasting time, and with how gimmicky a lot of PvP games are nowadays, you know, being like hero shooters and stuff, I always felt like, like any of it not, it just like, I get the vibe to me personally that kind of kills it, of just like, I am not playing a PvP game about skill, I'm playing a PvP game that have skills, and then also like what paper sizzle of this character beat that character beat that character, this character cancel out that character, you know, that kind of design. I'm just not a fan. Well, this on the other hand, when it comes to the PvP, which obviously you could still go down that way, we won't, I don't know, but just having that like carrot on the stick of like, oh, if I do PvP, I get a shit ton of sand. Then that sand, like they were talking about, is like, oh, I can now build stuff. I can upgrade stuff. I, you know, can do stuff in the hubs. And you know, one of the things I love so much, it like design that it will every single design aspect, you know, like complements another mechanics. And I love that in MMOs when they nail it. You know, like I always say about like Final Fantasy 11, like gain level, farm item, start crafting, make money, get armor, get better stuff to go out, farm better, you know, better weapons, get better weapon, get tuple, get higher tier, make higher tier stuff. Now I'm crafting stuff for my house. My house is giving me more inventory, mean I can carry more stuff. That means I can farm more. You know, like that type of design, I love. And that a design I feel like a lot of MMOs nowadays don't have, because a lot of MMO designs are very like fragmented, of being like, you know, oh, I do this activity for this, I do that activity for that, and none of them ever like bleed over. So with this, at least with the fight stuff, is, you know, it bleeding into other content. It actually have a point to do PvP beyond just, you know, black and white, or, you know, insult whatever reason for PvP for you or anyone else. So as long as they can nail that landing, making all of it work together, like it seeming like, and they all seem to be implying, I am way more interested in it. Any of it wasn't, you know, tied to, you know, the Dune universe at all. I still would be like interested in it just because of, you know, what they all saying. But once again, it all come back to how it actually works. We're gonna play this. We're gonna be playing a crap ton of this, ideally, when I can. So yeah, that's the main thing that's getting me about that, and why this right now is like the one MMO I'm looking to move forward to that is, you know, coming in the next like 6 months to a year. Since they said early 2025, so we will see. We will see if they nail the landing, but nonetheless, I will be still keep an eye on this. Any news that come out, any of the, you know, devs event they do, I still will cover all of them. And we're getting a pretty good picture, but we're gonna see if they can once again nail the landing or not. But since it will be going up on YouTube as a separate video, if you're over there, make sure to thumbs up, subscribe, hit all the bell. Come on over to Twitch. Could chat at the old chat doing things. Come on over to twitch.tv/Maconn. We stream pretty much every night, starting around 7:15 to 8 p.m. give or take, depending on if Sam kidnapped me, or if she having a normal breakdown. But nonetheless, I didn't ever do it for Doom. So yeah. With that, come on over to Twitch and get into everything else we do tonight, shall we?